How you doing, jerk-offs? Yeah, I'm still not sold. Still not sold on that being what we call you. But hey, we're back with another episode, another round of the Union Jack-Off. It is me, Daniel Muggleton, sitting inside, shielding himself from... When talking the third person there? That's weird. I think that's probably just like a symptom of being an only child. Every now and again, you'll slip into the third person to make it seem like there's more people around. But I'm sitting inside in my flat in London. It is raining outside. It's gone classic London the last couple of days. And that feels good because I'm leaving. Tomorrow, I'm out, man. It's over. I fly back to Australia for like 3 weeks. Just as the weather is getting properly shit here, I jet off to the other side of the world to experience what Australians would consider pretty mild weather, but what English people consider to be a nice little summer's evening. But yeah, I'm doing that. I'm out of here. I'm in Sydney, where I'm from, and then I'm in Canberra doing a couple of shows down there, hosting Oktoberfest Canberra. Yep, that's a thing. They have their own little Oktoberfest, and who better to host that than an Australian person who looks a little Jewish, huh? That's what you want. That's what you want hosting Oktoberfest. I have to wear the lederhosen, but hey, they pay me handsomely, so I'll do it, man. Absolutely zero shame on that. And then I got some shows up in Brisbane as well. A couple of days in Vegas. If you're an English person, Australians call Brisbane Vegas, not because it has any level of debauchery or infamy like Las Vegas, but just because it's pretty boring. So we call it a name that makes you think it's exciting, but it's not. That's pretty much the Australian sense of humor in a nutshell right there. And then obviously I'm in Sydney for a few shows, including a solo show at the Giant Dwarf Theatre. My first time at the Giant Dwarf. It's probably one of the few independent kind of comedy theatres in Australia, if not the only one. It might be the only one. I haven't done the research. But yeah, it's in Redfern where I used to live, and it's a great space. And I'm doing a show with my friend Seren Jayamana, who's an Australian dude, Sri Lankan. If you want to go back, if you want the name explained, it's a Sri Lankan name. We're doing 2 shows in the one night on November 8th. So if you want to come check that out, that'd be cool. But yeah, it'll be nice. And I had a couple of questions on Twitter about going back to Australia. I am still posting episodes. Don't worry. The beauty of the internet means I can do pretty much anything in Australia that I can do in the UK. It'll just take a bit longer because Australia has shitty internet. Yep. The government a couple of years ago were like, hey, we could get really, really, really fast internet that'll sort us out forever. And then they realized they could get us pretty average internet that wouldn't sort us out for very long at all, but it was way cheaper. So they did that. The Australian government is not a very ambitious government. They just want to save some money, chuck in whatever will work for now. So there will be episodes. They will be on Mondays, as always. But it'll just take me a little bit longer to upload them because Australia still has old school internet, which means streaming sport live is really difficult. I know it's illegal to stream live sports, but it would be cool if it was effective. In Australia, it is not. It's a lot of pausing and then hoping a goal hasn't occurred while the thing is still buffering. But yeah, back home, man. I'm looking forward to it. It's weird. It's got me thinking about just the real little things that I can't do anymore. Like one of the things, just leaving plates out with crumbs on them. I love that. That's a great feature of London. I know a city associated with the plague and rats and all that stuff probably isn't where you're like, oh, you shouldn't leave food out, but you can because there's just not bugs. I don't know what you guys did. I don't know how the whole of the UK was just kind of fumigated, but apparently you did it, and that's why you can just leave crumbs out, man. There's no trailer ants. Like, in Australia, if you leave something out, because there's just a trailer ants to it in the next day, like you'll just see like a line, like a conga line of ants just picking that crumb up and taking it back. But in the UK, it's fine. You can leave it out for a couple of days, man. No dramas. I had Madeira cake last night for the first time. Left it straight on the breadboard. No dramas. But back home, mate, that would not be on. That wouldn't be on at all. One thing I'm glad that I'm like, you know how something, you just kind of see something a bunch of times, but then like the last time it just kind of clicks that you're not okay with it. This makes it sound like it's gonna be something dramatic. It's not. It's just in the UK there's like this thing where people live on houseboats, like in the canals. I don't know why that began or why it's been allowed to continue in like a city as jam-packed as London. But yeah, it's just this weird thing. Like you walk up any of the canals and they're all just lined with boats and people live on those boats. And the thing that bothers me isn't the boats are there. I'm like, that's fine, man. Like, get around, rent however you want to. But it's just the people on the boats are normal. Like that bothers me on a level I can't really explain. Just like if I could, find an accountant on the internet and go in there and he'd be wearing a suit and he'd get my tax return sorted and he'd ask me very professional questions and I'd flounder a little bit with the answers, but then he could then leave that accounting firm and just go and live on a boat. You know what I mean? Like in Australia, if you live on a boat, like I assume your income is largely fishing dependent, or like you've fallen upon hard times, or like you're trying to stay off the grid in like some kind of protest of like housing prices or something, or you're in witness protection, right? I think anybody, if you're like, yeah, I live on a houseboat, you're like, oh, you grass someone up who was in an organized crime gang, and now you got to live on a boat. Like that's the price you pay for witness protection. You're always on a boat. I don't know why. I don't know why they decided that the boat is the safest place for the people in witness protection, but in my head, that's what you got to do. But in the UK, no, you can just be just a regular dude. Like you can have just like a real boring, like you could be a teacher. I think I got a friend who's a teacher who lives on one of those boats. It's like, can you imagine that? It's like you want to have like a special conference with your child's teacher, and they're like, oh, just come over to my place. Like, yeah, I agree. Like we need to intervene. Like we need to help out. And then you come over and it's a fucking boat on a canal. I don't know. It makes me uncomfortable. It seems like there should be some kind of like you should have to wear like something just to let people know, like, hey, I know that I seem like a normal person, but I live on a boat. I live on a boat. There's no running water on them, apparently. Like you got to go kind of fetch your water. Like there was this other guy who was telling me like, yeah, the boat's actually pretty sweet. I had a mate who lived out of a van next to like a climbing wall, and he had to join a gym to like shower. Like, and all this stuff is just to avoid paying rent. Like if rent stops me from doing all those things, fuck it, man. Sign me up for rent every day of the week. I don't want a gym to be part of my daily grooming routine. I don't want that. That seems like too much effort. I want all my stuff in the same house. I don't want a rock climbing wall to be an amenity. I just don't want that. Call me old fashioned. Anyway, let's get moving. I'm just thinking about all this stuff because I'm leaving. I'm like, man, I've gotten really used to all these things. It's gonna be weird going back home, which is like normal. This is like current normal, but Australia's normal. All right. So anyway, today's guest. Pretty psyched to have this dude on and to chat to him. Loyiso Gola. He's a South African comedian. He's real funny, man. Like I don't know. It's funny. Like if you do comedy, you meet a lot of comedians. They're all pretty funny. But every now and again you just see someone, you're like, man, that guy is good. And like Loyiso's that guy. Like I remember the first time I saw him, it was like kind of like a friend of a friend thing. She was like, hey, I got these tickets to this dude. Just please go check it out. I think it was like his first show ever in Australia at the Comedy Store, and like he wasn't shifting as much tickets as like he expected. So she was just helping him out and giving some away to comedy people. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll check it out. And man, he was just excellent. And he was like so jet lagged. Like he was living in the UK, like just left South Africa to live in the UK for a bit, and then had jumped across to Australia. So like half the references were like about the UK and about South Africa. It didn't really make any sense, but it was just so funny that it didn't matter. Like he could be doing an English accent for an Australian person he was doing a joke about. No one cared because the joke was so good. Like that's some next level comedy, right? But yeah, I caught him there, and then he did his first kind of Melbourne comedy festival, and like sold the whole thing out. Then I actually met him down there, just in the artist bar. It was like my girlfriend's birthday. He was kind of lingering on his own. I was like, hey man, I saw your show in Sydney. I'm friends with her. Blah blah blah. Want to come get a drink? And he came across and he hung out all night, just buying us drinks because he wasn't drinking, and we got like blackout drunk, and kind of like stumbled home. Didn't really know what happened to him, and then he saw us in the street like 5 days later. We're like, is that Loyiso? And like, you know, he's like a 6'5", like black South African man. So in Australia, he stands out, right? Like you can see him coming. And yeah, we're just like walking towards him like, shit, I think that's Loyiso. And then he sees us and he just goes, oh my God, you're alive. It was probably the best follow-up to a real drunken night that I've had recently. But yeah, he's a cool dude. He's done a lot of stuff in South Africa. He kind of came up when it was that kind of first, like South Africa got a really, like if you don't know this, South Africa's got a really kind of vibrant comedy scene. I know a lot of people know Trevor Noah's come out of it, but a lot of people are coming out of South Africa now. Loyiso's kind of like part of that group. He had his own TV show there. He's, you know, travels around the world. He's done Just for Laughs a bunch of times. Like, yeah, and he's just a really cool guy. Like I had no idea, I guess, how famous he was in South Africa until I really kind of looked into him for doing this stuff. So yeah, I'm really psyched to talk to him about South Africa. Like obviously in the first episode, I talked to Pierre about the UK and South Africa, but he left South Africa when he was younger. So like Loyiso's been there pretty much his whole life. He's back there right now, doing shows for a few months. But yeah, I think you guys will really enjoy this chat because I don't know if it's the same for you, but for me, like South Africa is like the most foreign of the Commonwealth countries. Like I just don't really understand the culture there. I don't really have a good working knowledge of what it's like. Like you kind of hear stories, you kind of hear these kind of like things about like the violence and like the political stuff and like obviously the kind of apartheid hangover. But you know, when I was a kid, I always supported the South African cricket team for some reason. I just didn't go for Australia, went for South Africa. I couldn't tell you why. So I was you know, always root for South Africa a little bit. So I was curious to sit down with Loyiso and chat to him about what it's like and what it's like going around the world, essentially, just doing comedy in different places. That's he's doing it proper. He's doing the proper international comedy thing. And yeah, man, I'm excited to chat to him, and I'm sure you guys will enjoy it too. So anyway, here it is, my talk with Loyiso Gola. And he's still eating. That's how you know this is a relaxed podcast. We've already kicked this thing off, and you're mostly chewing. Like these guys don't even know if I've got a guest at the moment. They're like, maybe he's just gonna fill.
No. I've just finished eating. This food is good, man.
What do we have? I saw a deep fried thing, but I know you're vegan, so it's not chicken.
It's not chicken. It's just stuffed stuff that tastes good.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Excuse me, can I have the deep fried stuff, please?
Yeah, stuffed stuff.
Stuffed stuff. Okay.
And then some spinach lasagna.
Spinach lasagna. And what, there was a little salad as well. I saw that.
And a little salad on the side that just comes with the lasagna. I didn't request the salad. The lady was a bit forward on that one.
She offered.
She just said, okay, cool, maybe he needs a salad.
Well, is this your last meal in London with this, or are you going to squeeze one more in?
I'll probably have another meal at the airport.
At the airport. And what was it Box Park? Your favorite little Box Park number?
Yeah, man, it's closing at the end of the month apparently.
Really? So you're leaving and they're going to close, do some refurbishments, then when you come back,
no, I think
they're closing.
I think they're closing forever.
For good?
I think it was a pop-up.
It was a pop-up. Well, I mean, Box Park is all about the pop-up.
Yeah. So you like 1 minute, and then next minute it's another store, and the next, you know.
You can't rely on it.
No, it's not reliable.
It's not a McDonald's. McDonald's is never going away. I've never seen a McDonald's close down in my life. As soon as they get a spot, they're staying. They'll wait us out.
Yeah, but that's because they're a property company more than a meat company.
All right, you've seen The Founder as well. You've watched it on a plane.
No,
not on a plane?
No, I just know that they're the biggest property owners in the world.
Yeah, I learned that from the film The Founder.
I have no idea what The Founder is.
It's about the guy who founded McDonald's.
Oh, really?
And
My brother told me about that. I just haven't watched it.
You haven't? I mean, it's not really worth it. You know the most interesting thing from the film already.
Oh, really?
That's the big twist. Like 70 minutes in, it's like, oh yeah, what if we just own property instead? And everyone's like, oh. And then that's the end of the film, really.
Yeah. So I always say that if once a McDonald pops up in a neighborhood, that means the property is probably worth something.
Right, so you should buy then. That's when you should invest in property in that neighborhood.
Especially in developing economies.
Developing economies. Okay. Well, look, I don't have.
I just bought a place in Johannesburg based on the proximity of a McDonald's.
That is untrue. That's
very
a lie.
true.
Really?
Brumfontein, yeah. They opened a McDonald's 2 years ago.
And you were like, give it 2 years to settle down while the lines kind of disperse, and then get the property in, because you don't want to go in the McDonald's is still fresh. People will be too excited.
I don't know. I don't know what the algorithms are. I just bought it on that.
Just bought it. What does a property in Joburg go for?
Depends. This is
nice.
No, it's not fancy at all.
Oh, okay.
But it's fancy for London.
Fancy for London? No, because every London property is terrible. But
no, because London, the cost and the value is better than London.
Oh, of course.
London is like a glorified refugee camp.
He says a glorified refugee camp because we're in my apartment with clothes drying everywhere, which I take very personally. Like I do the washing, man. Like Mary's got a job. I gotta wash and dry.
No, it's not. It's got nothing to do with that. It's just every apartment I go to, I'm like, damn, this is how you live.
I'm sitting in my refugee camp apartment with South African comedians.
Your apartment is nice though.
I think it's pretty nice.
Yeah,
it's nicer than it should be, given my level of success.
You're being hard on yourself. But I would say that, it's nice. It's very nice compared to a lot of apartments I've been to where you're like, man, this. No, you need to this. But it's also just crazy.
The apartment.
I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to, I like the city. It's a great city.
Yeah.
And I also love the space that I live in that city.
Right, which is a transient space. You're like in and out.
Nah, maybe I might be here for a long time. Maybe like 4 or 5 months. I wouldn't want to live in like a deemed temporary space. Then
right.
It has to be like, I gotta have some space. Not too much. I don't want too much space.
But you by yourself? You're at that age where it's like I'm living alone, not having a roommate.
I can live with the roommate. You know why it works out with me? It's because I work at night and people are asleep at night.
Yeah.
And so you could not see the person for a long time.
Man, I love that about this job. It is the greatest thing.
Yeah.
I live alone. I lived in Sydney with 6 other people, and I essentially lived alone.
Yeah, but you essentially because they're never there when and when they're up at night, you are doing gigs. So then it's like, okay, cool, this works out, as opposed to we come home at the same time and now we're like, okay, cool, I'm tired, you're tired, let's make conversation because we
have to.
Yeah,
because we're on the same couch. We better talk.
Yes.
Yeah. I think comedian's a great addition to a house if you're trying to cut down rent, because we're not really around. So it's just an extra person to pay rent, but we run the bills up though.
A working comedian.
A working comedian? That's true.
Because a not working comedian will be there when you come from work.
And they'll really want to talk to you too.
And
the second they come through the door, the comedian's running stuff, complaining.
Yeah, it'll just, they'll just want to have a chat. And sometimes you don't want to have a chat.
Well, look, I love that you cut off your own introduction. That is the level of relaxed you're bringing to this podcast. Eating. I was going through. I was like, South African comedian, and you just cut me off.
Oh, okay.
I was about to say your name. You could be any of the 17 South African comedians.
Go.
Loyiso Gola.
Oh, there we go. I mean, when the people click,
yeah,
my name will be there, I guess.
Your name will be there. I'm gonna make a big thing of it.
Oh yeah,
some people might be scrolling. They might be going through. They might just be on the next episode, we'll give another one a go. And they're like, who is
when does this come out?
Oh, anyone knows. It is anyone's game when this thing actually hits the airwaves. I'm just getting some in the can because you're about to leave. Like I didn't want to miss out on you.
So let's not be specific about times.
Absolutely not. Well, I mean, can we talk vaguely about your last little month? You've had a busy month. You've had a successful month.
I've had a month.
You've had a traveled month.
Yeah. I mean, I did live at the Apollo yesterday.
Yeah.
Which was fun. It was fun. So it's crazy because you have to have like a very energized set, only because they shoot 2 shows, and so the first show goes. The first show is at like 6:30.
Yeah.
And then you watch that, and then they have a break.
Same audience. They don't flip the audience.
Yeah, the same audience, and so I was at the end of all of that.
So you were the last in the last show.
I was last in the last, and then I was like, oh man, okay, so that's a good piece of information to know, so that you just crank up the energy a bit, and also just understand that they're tired.
Yeah. So what time were you on? Like 10?
10 to 10.
Yeah, because that'd be a pretty quick shoot.
Yeah.
To 10.
So I had to
pump it out.
Yeah, but I had been there for a long time, so my energy was also running low, so I had to psych myself up as well.
Yeah, I had to get ready to entertain some West London folk in the Hammersmith.
Yeah.
Was it particularly kind of old white people? Was that the vibe?
They were pretty mixed. I think I don't know, man. I don't know how to gauge who's who here.
You got no read on the UK demographics.
No, I don't. I just go, oh, it's just people from the UK. I don't know if they're West Londoners or.
Oh man, I like to divvy it up. Like have you done like that headliners gig in Chiswick where it's like Chiswick is like the real. Like where people who used to manage funds go to retire. Like,
all right.
Yeah, so it's got a real vibe,
I don't, sometimes I don't like knowing that.
Yeah.
Because that plays into your complexes.
Oh, totally. Because then you think, oh, they're gonna be a certain way and you change.
Yeah.
And
then you also sometimes, I might not be too smart for these people. But when I don't know, I just go, oh, fuck it. I'll stay whatever.
Say whatever feels good at the time.
Yeah.
But then wait, so before that, I'm trying to paint you in a certain light here.
Did I introduce? Did I ruin the?
You did not at all.
Again?
You're doing great so far, but I want to go slightly before, because you're Just for Laughs.
Oh yes, I did Just for Laughs as well.
And then if we go earlier in the year, you're in Australia doing the Melbourne International Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
And you've done the gala there the last 2 years. That's Australia's big show, our little gala.
Yeah.
And then I was going to ask, have you ever done anything in New Zealand?
No.
No.
Not by choice. Not that I'm like, no, don't want to.
Just itching to get to New Zealand?
I'm not particularly itching to go to New Zealand. I'll go wherever I kind of need to go. I might go next year.
Yeah. Well, I've never been. So
you never been to New Zealand?
Even though it's right next door.
I don't really know too much about New Zealand.
Well, I've heard it's very nice.
Except they're good at rugby. Are they still good at rugby?
Still good at rugby?
Okay.
We just beat you, apparently. Like last week, Wallabies beat the Springboks.
I don't really care about rugby.
But don't you find it weird that rugby is like big in 8 countries in the world, and one of those countries is Argentina? Like it just doesn't fit in with the rest of it. It's like Australia, South Africa, England, Wales, France, Argentina.
It kind of does.
Why does it fit in?
Because, and this only makes sense because I was in Argentina. If you go to Argentina, it's like a colony.
Argentina's got that vibe?
Yeah, it's Argentina's like a Europe. It's like Europe in South America.
What?
I'm telling you.
I haven't been. I'm taking your word.
Oh no, I went to Argentina for 10 days.
Yeah.
Because I just I had these tickets, these rebate tickets.
Yeah.
And then I just went. I was like, okay, what's the one place I want to go to? I don't really need a visa for. And then I was like, oh, okay, these tickets can. And then I just went there, and yeah, it was like the architecture. It's a very, considering where it actually is.
Yeah,
it's a very European place.
Right, but what makes it like a colony though? You said like colony more than Europe.
It's more like a.
Did it have that Commonwealth vibe?
Yeah, it does. It has like a. I need to articulate this.
Yeah,
it's like a. They also like it's like a place that I don't. It's like a place where anyone, like someone offered me an Argentinian passport. They're like, if you want one, you can get one. Then I said, what are the pros for it? They're like, not much. And I said, well, fuck am I going to do that for?
But what, like an illegal one or a legal one?
A legal one.
You could just buy one.
Not buy one. It's just like they want people to come and
right.
It's one of those places.
Right. They want citizens. They want to
That
build
kind of
up.
that kind of place. But I mean, I don't know. Argentina is also like I don't know the entire history of it. But I can tell you that there's a connection somehow. In the sense that it's like the word is not colony. It's
But I thought the Spanish settled Argentina. Like it was the conquistadors, wasn't it? Wasn't that Argentina? And then something else happened. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but that's the same. Australia's the same.
Australia was settled by the British. They weren't. There was no one else.
Yeah, but it's settled. It's settlers.
Yeah, it was colonized, but I just
yes, but I'm saying that the common thread is rugby.
the common thread is rugby.
Let's go back to the thing.
Yeah, we're back.
So name the countries.
England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales.
But what's important to the whole? We're making this all up. Most of these things are we're just figuring it out. Both our knowledge, right? Yeah. So then, if you go England, so England will be Australia.
Yeah.
And then it will be
South Africa.
So those two make sense.
And then New Zealand.
Do they have British settlers in
New Zealand?
New Zealand.
Yeah.
In a large way. So that's 4. No, that's 4. So there's definitely a theme of settlement there.
Well, that's the thing. I think it's like a Commonwealth. It's a Commonwealth sport. Like it's
yeah. I used to do a bit about this. I used to do a bit about how rugby. Like I had to do this bit about rugby is not a real sport because not enough people play it.
Right.
Like China doesn't play it. Russia doesn't play it. And these are like big continents. I mean, big countries. So like, so you have China, India. They don't participate in this whole thing. They don't care for it, right?
Of course not. And that's
right.
2.5 billion people who are like, what's rugby?
Yeah,
exactly.
And then cricket is the same.
But India's a former colony as well. So how does that make sense?
Cricket, though.
They do cricket, but
they gravitated towards cricket.
What, is it just never winter in India? I mean, I've never been. Maybe it's never cold enough for rugby. You never want to be in that kind of scrum of people.
That's an interesting thing.
Why would India,
Pakistan, and Sri Lanka gravitate towards cricket more than...
I mean, because they're fucking good at it. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but
I just assume they started out really excellent. Like, just chucked them a ball and they could immediately spin it. It was beautiful. It was just these English people being like, we've found a great colony right here. In 100 years, we're going to let a couple of them play for the team.
No, man, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but I'm really like fascinated now.
About what, Argentina and rugby?
Just the whole idea of like why
India and Pakistan didn't go. Well, Canada, they don't do it.
Oh, fuck.
But actually, they have a team now. Canada has a team. They put in the World Cup, I think. Yeah, but they're mainly just. But Japan plays rugby as well.
Japan can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, but how did it happen there? They've been independent the whole time.
Fuck, man. Why don't I remember? My memory is losing. I read an article once about why rugby was taking off in Japan.
Look, I can't tell you.
There was a particular incident that made kids go, okay, I can play. I think it was either the World Cup or something.
I mean, there was... Recently, Japan beat South Africa in the World Cup in rugby, and that was crazy. Was it that?
No, I read the article after that happened, but I think it has absolutely everything to do with time zones.
Time zones?
Because remember the reason the NBA is big in Australia, for instance.
Yeah.
And the East is because it's not bad for time. Like in South Africa, the NBA plays like 2 a.m.
Right, whereas in Australia it's like in the morning. It's like 9 a.m.
Yeah, it's like 9 a.m. So you can still watch it and that kind of, so all those things come into play. And then is there someone in your you know what I mean, on TV that's representing your country that the kids can look up to?
Yeah, for sure.
That kind of situation. And what's the income for it?
NBA or rugby?
For whatever sport it is.
Oh, okay. Sorry, just
like
affecting
in the
different
Caribbean
factors.
Kids. Like there was a bit of a decline from the West Indies team because
there's more money in baseball.
In basketball.
Yeah, and sprinting.
So the kids are like...
very niche amount of money in sprinting, but if you're Usain Bolt, you're making bank.
Yeah, a lot of bank.
He's playing football in Australia now.
That's not good.
For the Central Coast Mariners. Like, Central Coast is like an hour and a half north of Sydney, and it's famous for like meth and abortions. And that's where he's playing. He must really want to play football professionally to go. It really does.
I think also, like, he's too old to be playing at that level.
I mean, we buy heaps of old players. Like, the Australian Football League is kind of like the Florida of football.
Yeah, but the players still have been playing football since they were 12.
That's true.
So then, even if they are at a certain level, there's certain things that you have to teach. Usain Bolt that you should have learned when you were 21, playing at a certain level.
Yeah, but come on, he's not. We're not recruiting him as a fantastic footballer.
Yeah, I know.
We're recruiting him as Usain Bolt.
Yes.
It is a cynical grab, I reckon. But good on him. I mean, good on him for playing it. Didn't he hit a bunch of sixes in a cricket match as well? Was that him?
I don't know.
I think he did.
He's just one of those guys who probably wants to try everything.
Yeah, I mean, he's fine forever.
I don't like his confidence.
You don't like his confidence? How dare he?
But how dare he attempt all this cool shit in life?
Well, look, I've on this podcast before, we have talked a bit of South Africa with a person who you don't consider South African, and I think this is Pierre Novelli, who was born there but like moved when he was like 7 or 5 or something. So he kind of talks about it because he's got relatives there. But as you say,
what does he say about it?
Well, he just tells me about all the crazy things, like all the like violence and like political stuff. Like the kind of news, let's say the news, like the cheap news, not the expensive news, the cheap news, like
right.
Put it on the front page, shift the paper kind of news, and like just the kind of lifestyle. I've never been to South Africa. I think to me I've told you this before. My understanding of South Africa is like D'Artwood, Blood Diamond, and District 9.
Right.
Like that's my whole. I don't have an informed opinion at all.
About, yeah. Neither is a person who left in 90 years.
Here we go. The shots are in.
Like, yeah, but I mean, you don't. It's like,
no, but it's true. I would agree.
Like, the crazy thing about like violence, South Africa has been violent since the 40s. It's just that.
Well, Europe was pretty violent in the 40s.
Yeah.
No, I'm just teasing.
No.
Yeah.
I'm saying that even maybe 60s, whatever that. Like I remember, like people like to talk about like South Africa being like violent in the last couple of years or maybe the last 20 years. That's not necessary. That's not true at all. Like my recollection of growing up was pretty violent. In the ghetto where I was living, it was like, holy shit, okay, maybe some of this stuff should not be. This is quite wild. Yeah. When you think about it retrospectively, you're like, oh shit.
So where did you, Johannesburg? No,
Cape Town.
Cape Town.
Yeah.
Which is the most violent of like the major cities?
I don't like to talk about South Africa in the context of violence.
Sorry.
No. I'm not even like shitting on you or anything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's like, if I grew up in, like I've seen people get stabbed in London as well, in the train or whatever. But when I talk about London, that's not what I'm talking about. I go, oh man, I went to go watch football. Oh, the food is great. I don't go.
Right, you don't want to.
Do you know what I mean?
You don't want to pigeonhole it, like, because everyone's kind of like, what about this thing? Everyone's like, there's so much more to it than that.
Yeah. So I don't. I've seen people, phones get snatched in London.
Yeah.
But I don't really. When I was in Argentina, by the way, I was eating on the side of those restaurants where you sit outside.
Yeah, on the pavement. You're on the
pavement, and then you just came and snatched my food and ran.
Snatched your food?
Yes, sir.
I've never heard of a food robbery.
I don't think it was a robbery. I think it was starving.
He just went for it. He was like, I'm grabbing this. I'm getting this to go. And off he went.
And he just ran off. And then then the manager at the time offered me more food. I was like, nah, it's cool, man. That was actually a dope experience.
What, that you got offered more food after? You're like, sweet.
No, that someone just took the food.
I mean, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I know. Luckily, I was with a friend of mine.
You can verify?
Yeah, because it's such a crazy story to just blabber out in the middle of dinner conversations,
Yeah.
So it was great that she was there and she was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I saw that too.
That's in Australia. I think you can give homeless people, you can offer homeless people food, and they'll be like, "Oh, I don't really want a sandwich." Like I've had that experience, which I consider also pretty crazy. Where they're just kind of like, "Oh man, I don't know about this. Do you have any better food?"
Yeah. Yeah, Australia's a weird place for me, man.
What's your impression of Australia? That's interesting to me, and probably, I assume more Australians will listen to this than other people. Like other Commonwealth countries, like coming from Australia. You've spent a fair bit of time there.
Australia is...
Do you think it's like one thing, I guess, just like quickly on like the violence in South Africa is like, I see that because Australia is like the safest place. Like it's like number 2 in the world.
After what?
I think like Iceland? No. Something like that.
I've been invited to go to Iceland.
You're invited to go to Iceland?
Do you know Iceland has the highest, what do you call it? Gun ownership per capita.
What?
But the safest place.
But they just don't use them. Everyone's got one. Maybe that's like the argument that America's about to start making. Everyone in Iceland's got a gun. Look how safe it is. We just need to give everyone a gun.
Yeah.
That's the way to move forward here.
But I think they like a hunting, I don't know, the hunt. But someone invited me to Iceland.
That'd be a pretty interesting place.
I think so.
I've also heard about Iceland, like highest hard drug usage per capita.
Also the highest author per capita.
Authors. Most writers. Coming out of Iceland.
Yes, sir.
Weird. See, these are the myths that we all pass around. Like, might just all be a lie. Like someone's just read it on some article on their Facebook, and then now it's the fact.
Iceland is a peculiar place. Do you know Ari?
I do not know Ari. Ergen?
I don't know. What's the surname again?
I can't do it.
He's from Iceland.
I feel like I should be able to because like for me it's like a white person like last name. It's just like all these consonants in a row, and it's like good luck. And it's Ergen. Ari Ergen.
He's from there.
He's Iceland's biggest comedian, isn't
he? Indeed,
number 1. Well, are you South Africa's biggest comedian? Are you number 1 in South Africa?
No, Trevor's probably the bigger act.
But like, does South Africa still love him, or is he kind of been like, he's going to the US now?
I don't know. People still love him.
Australia gets a little shitty when people leave. I think we're a little bit possessive.
Australia's insecure.
Australia's a very insecure country. We're told we're laid back. We're not.
You're not laid back. You're just blokey.
Blokey. I wouldn't even describe us as blokey, man. You know, like one of the things like Australians complain most about is coffee. That's like one of our number 1 national concerns.
But the coffee's good there.
Yeah, we got real good coffee. How does that fit with our national image of like being blokes and going to the bush? Doesn't fit at all. We don't know what we're doing. Australia's like a teenage country. We're just trying all these different things and just being insecure.
And the internet is quite slow.
Very slow. Yeah, they won't invest in that kind of stuff. They don't think very forward in Australia.
Nazis are weird that way. I'm joking. I did find the food amazing.
Yeah, really good food.
And I also like found that it was a very diverse country in the Asian sense. Yeah.
We don't have black people.
But
really.
But you have every type of Asian human being.
Absolutely. And
every type.
Every type, and we call them by their proper name, and we don't force them to have a restaurant with Japanese and Chinese cuisine.
Yes.
That's one of the things that blows my mind about London, where it's like, yeah, we got Vietnamese and Korean. It's like, fucking pick a side, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like, yeah, we have Portuguese and Italian. That never happened.
Exactly. It's absurd. But
never thought of it that way.
In Australia, it's like, yeah, we got South China cuisine. Like, that's the restaurant we do.
Yeah.
Like,
and then they have restaurants where they just sell dumplings.
Yeah, dumpling houses. Yeah, I mean, but this is the thing. People say to me, like, oh, don't you find it weird there's so many Asians in Australia? And it's like, no, we're in Asia.
Yes.
It's weird that I'm there. It's weird that you're there talking to me in English. They should be here.
Yes.
If they were, really what? Australia should be full of Indonesian people. Probably. Like, they would have been the next to come over, if not for the English.
I have no idea. I don't know.
Like, obviously, like, the indigenous population as well. There should be way more of them, but, you know.
We know now that boomerangs are not effective ways of fighting wars.
Yeah, it's really hard to get someone on a ship with a boomerang. Just too much distance. They get in the water, you got to swim out and get it and throw it again.
It's not effective.
Mate, it's just, it's a strange... Because this blew my... I don't know if this is the same for you here, but, like, I guess South Africa's got, like, a proper indigenous population that's still, like, around.
Right.
Like, in Australia, it's such a small number. Like, it's, like, less than 1% of the population now.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy low. Like, crazy low. And that includes, like, people like a 16th, I think it goes up to now.
Right.
Or, like, an 8th. I forget. But, like, yeah. Then you come here, and I was doing some gig, like, in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, what's the indigenous population here? And they're like, white people. I was like, what? Like, no, but who was here first? They're like, yeah, just Saxons, like Anglos, like Celts, like just ambiguous white people. And you're like, oh. Like, that never occurred to me. I know it seems dumb.
It doesn't seem dumb.
To just be like, no, but they must have started with somebody else. It can't just be you guys forever. And they're like, no, that's why. That's how it works.
Yeah. I mean, all Europeans.
Mm.
How do you think of that?
It's weird, right?
It's not weird.
But it's weird to think about. It's like a Welsh person getting a tattoo of a dragon is like a tribal tattoo. If that makes sense.
Okay. Oh, no.
No, you don't think so?
I'm not on the same page as you on any of the... For the last maybe 2 minutes, I've been like rolling my eyes and trying to figure out what the fuck you're talking about.
Well, look, just that coming from Australia, it's always like, oh, who was there first? Who was there before you? Who came next?
Yes.
Whereas like in the UK and like, let's just say like specifically like Wales, it was Welsh people the whole time. There was just a bunch of Welsh people and they never really left.
Right.
And like, it's been their culture the whole time. Like, they've advanced, obviously. But like, there was never like a who came next. You know, like it's still just the same Welsh people.
Right.
So like, it's an infinite. There's no change. Like, it's just them liking different things at different times and fighting different people, but them still sitting there being Welsh.
That's ideal.
Is it?
Yeah.
Don't you want people coming in? Don't you want
It's
things?
not about coming in. It's how you come in.
I mean, it's definitely how you enter.
Yeah, it's not about like, it's not as simple as, oh, we might need a new. It's not. It's not, because even the idea of these people at Welsh is a construct, you know.
But like, I
so
thought
it's like you create borders so that people know where they kind of belong, but you know.
Oh man, have you ever seen Ahir Shah do comedy?
No.
He's an English dude. He had this great joke about Africa being like, if you looked at the map, you'd think African people are a huge fan of geometric shapes.
Right.
Because of like all the borders are just square, like.
Right. Yeah, it's quite a crazy thing. Like, even back in South Africa, we have 2 countries inside South Africa.
Yeah. You have 2 countries. Wait, what?
We have 2 countries inside South Africa.
So what are the 2 countries?
Swaziland and Lesotho.
Okay. Are they like states or are they like...
They're states.
So that's how it works. It's like South Africa's got 2 states, Swaziland and Lesotho. No.
They're independent countries.
But they're both...
inside South Africa.
And the government... Is there like an executive government that tells both of them what to do? Or do they just independently rule?
They just run independently.
What?
Yes.
Then why aren't you just those 2 countries? Why are you South Africa at all? Why do you need to be South Africa?
No, man. You see, South Africa exists.
Yeah.
Then inside South Africa
are
these 2 countries that are independent.
But then there's South Africa.
Yes.
Like a third thing.
Yes.
Like South Africa's not divided into those 2.
No.
Right. I was confused.
So it's 2 states inside the country.
Yeah. That. You gonna show me a map now?
Of course, I'm gonna show you a goddamn map because you don't hear me.
I'm trying to.
You're not hearing me.
All right, so this is the visual element of the podcast. I mean, if everyone,
I mean, if you have,
if I'll put up a photo for sure, but like if everybody already knew this, and I'm just being a dummy.
You're not being a dummy. When I talk about this shit on stage, people are like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Well, do you think people are very ignorant towards South Africa? Like
They're ignorant about shit that doesn't concern them.
But everyone's got a working knowledge of America.
It's because we watch American TV.
And like, did you have a working knowledge of the UK before you came here?
Yeah, because we were a British colony.
But isn't like, all right, I'm getting this now.
There.
Okay.
Look, Swaziland.
Okay, right.
Those are 2 independent states.
There are 2 independent states, just inside the border of South Africa.
Yes.
So all of their borders are with South Africa.
Yes, except the 2/3 of Actually, yeah. Look at this. Only this bit is.
A little bit of Swaziland is what's that border with?
Is in Mozambique.
Mozambique, right?
Yeah. Like that little bit.
So what? Did they just claim independence at some point in South Africa's
No,
history?
they were like. I mean, there were wars between the British and the Dutch, and then.
Right.
This is Britain's fault, by the way.
This is Britain's fault?
Yeah.
I think most things.
Yeah.
If you look at any map, it's probably Britain's fault.
It's highly likely.
Like.
So they became protectorates.
Yeah.
Of those 2 because they were fighting against the Dutch.
Right.
And they were going at each other, and then they offered to protect these 2 pieces of land and kingdoms or whatever the case was.
Yeah.
And the Dutch couldn't really fuck with these guys, so they became independent, right? They just became independent, and in 1968, Britain was like, okay, the wars are over, everything is cool. Do you guys want to go back to being a South African country? And they were like, yeah, but there's apartheid there, so we're not interested.
And that was it.
That was it. And they were just like, okay, cool, fuck it, whatever.
And then was there a big campaign when apartheid ended to bring him in? No?
I don't think we...
Or did they want to come in?
I don't know. People don't care about things that don't concern them.
But it's I guess it's not really your country because they're their own country. Yeah.
Everyone likes to act like they care. No one really cares.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the working knowledge thing is interesting because you said you had a working knowledge of the UK because it was, a former colony.
Yeah. So then,
colony. Same as Australia.
Yeah.
Same as all the Commonwealth. So did it match those expectations?
What do you mean?
Like now that you're here, are you like, oh yeah, this all kind of makes sense? Like you kind of have like a shorthand for the culture because
I just get all the shit here. It's just like I'm surprised that all the people are quite, they're just culturally different.
It is culturally different.
Very like a shamed nation. A very self-aware, but in the wrong way.
Self-aware, but in the wrong way.
Yeah, like self-aware of like just guilt, like Catholic guilt.
But but it's not even Catholic anymore.
Yeah, I know, but that's the vibe. It's like,
still got that repressed guilt.
Like,
But like, do you think it's about like the colonization stuff? Like, do you think? I don't think they. Like British people don't feel weird about Australia's indigenous population.
No, they don't. I don't think that's the case. What I'm saying is they're a very classless society.
Yeah, huge class. Yeah, we've discussed that. That has been discussed here. Talked about the classes, which is weird. Is South Africa the same?
Any British.
Australia's not. There's no classes, man.
Yeah, but Australia was not really colonized by the British.
I mean, it really was. Like, it definitely was. We were multiple colonies, then we federated, like federation. Then
yeah, but it's like a certain. It's like I don't think every society has class.
Yeah.
It's or like categories of humans. Every society has. But what I'm saying is like if you look at like places where Britain came, took over and started instilling philosophies and Christianity in that kind of way, which is not the case in Australia.
I mean,
they have a great sense of classism. Every Indian movie is about the rich family not wanting.
Yeah, well, they've got a very enshrined class system as well that's very static. Whereas, like, I think in Australia, the whole thing is...
Which is a British legacy.
It is. But in Australia, you can buy into anything. You know, if you have enough money, you're at the top. There's no,
it's not the same.
In the UK, it's not like that. You can't just have the most money and be number one. Like, you're still a middle-class dude who's really, really rich. Whereas, like, that upper-class posh thing, like, they don't even need that much money, but they're still... We all have the same accent. We're better than you.
Right. Okay, I get that.
Yeah. But so does South Africa, does it have much of a class thing going on?
Well...
Or is it more racial?
The class thing is more racial.
Yeah.
More racial than... It's more racial than actual class.
Right.
But you must remember, even in African cultures, there's class.
Right.
But it's probably enshrined differently. Every nation has kings. Kings have a totally different life to peasants. So when Europeans come into the country or the space, they turn the class system into a race-based class system.
Because they can automatically go on the top because they're white, and then they're like, we'll just
then you never really get to discuss. You never get to discuss. This is a very nuanced conversation, but you never really get to discuss classism amongst black people because it's just assumed that you're automatically at the bottom.
Yeah, and like all at the bottom.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah. That I think that's really interesting because I think that's pretty much everywhere, right? Like there's always that expectation that it's like, well, there's all these different kinds of white people and there's black people. Yeah. And they're all one group.
Yes.
And we just, they all probably know each other and shit. Like just that white ignorance of it.
There's a classism of, we the better, and they're talking about 400 years of wars. We beat you in this war and this. So there's like another underlying... Which, I mean, black history has not really been told. Like, even like the concentration camps with the British kept people, when it was recorded that, only Afrikaners were there. But when you actually look at the pictures from the concentration camps, there's tons of black people in there.
Oh, right. So just like, they just didn't even get recorded. Like, that's how...
Yeah, it was just like one of those where it's like,
we don't even need to tell that.
Yeah. Tons of there's a 3-hour Spike Lee movie where he talks about black soldiers.
3-hour Spike Lee movie. Does he have any movies that are short? I just saw Black Klansman and I'm like, that thing was...
I haven't seen it.
That had some length to it.
I haven't seen it. I had the opportunity to see it, but I saw a movie called The Miseducation of what? Caroline Post or something.
I mean, look,
It was a good movie.
I'm much more interested.
Wait, I'll tell you what the movie.
In Class Between Black People than the name of this movie. I'm interested in where Swaziland and Lesotho were as well. But
listen, man. Stop being.
You trying to give your little movie a plug? Like you got some friends in it?
No, I don't. I just want people to see this fucking movie. It's really cool. Is it Caroline? I don't know why my memory. Wait, let's see.
Look, people are on the edge of their seats waiting for this film title.
People don't care.
People love it.
This thing says Mid-Education of Lauryn Hill. Really, motherfucker?
Lauryn Hill. Is that just like an autocorrect?
Oh, The Miseducation of Cameron Post.
The Miseducation of Cameron Post.
Yeah, that's
okay. Good film. People should check it out.
Yeah, it's cool.
People should give it a look.
I really liked it. I thought it was fly.
All right. Well, wait. I want to get back to South Africa because.
That you never been.
Never been. This is where I never need to go. I can just skip it by having the chat with you. But no. So in South Africa now, obviously, like apartheid. What 20 years? 25. No apartheid.
25.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably 25 since the elections.
Yeah. So then, like, is it still just white at the top? Guaranteed, definitely. Lock it in.
Yeah.
But there's no no small kind of ruling elite of black people that kind of sit above that.
Sit above that.
Yeah, like I assume like the just given, like, I've never seen a white South African politician since, like, prime minister since apartheid. So I assumed the white people wouldn't automatically be number one anymore. Because generally you look at where the president's drawn from.
Yeah. It's a overly simplified view, I think. I think, like, first of all, like, Europeans and the West hold a lot of the cards. So a lot of countries are in chokeholds. Damn if you do, damn if you don't, right?
Sure.
So when we negotiated our situation in what do you call it? In 94, prior to that, there was no real exchange of economic power.
Right.
So the ruling elite is not an indicator of the economy.
Right.
Because every society has like a ruling elite per se.
So it was more like a symbolic changing of power.
It's not a symbolic thing. It's just that it's a difficult thing to switch. You're dealing with you're dealing with so much. It's a subject that gets oversimplified.
Okay, and you don't want to oversimplify it again.
No, I don't want to oversimplify it. I either need to explain it properly or not talk about it.
Well,
otherwise it's like a fucking. Otherwise it's a.
How long would a proper explanation take?
I don't know. I mean, depends. I'm just saying that South Africa has a very high unemployment rate. It has a very high, and that's probably it's got nothing to do with either the competence or non-competence of the current government. I personally think it's got everything with people wanting to keep things the way they were or the way things are.
Yeah,
and that's what's happened. We haven't had anything drastic to change people's lives from how people's lives were before.
There hasn't been a significant redistribution of wealth. There hasn't been a significant investment in different areas. Like, it's just kind of kept going.
Yeah. So then if the question you should ask is, how much of this land that was physically taken from people, which is direct effect on people's economy, livelihoods and economy. So you can't say to me, we have a housing problem. But then you go, yeah, but there's land, you know what I mean? We have space to build,
right.
You know what I mean? So we can't say we have a housing problem and then we go 1% of 12% of the population owns 80% of the land.
Right. So it's like
you have like 9% of the population that owns 90% of the land.
Wow.
Which is farming and all that. You understand what I'm saying?
This is like the agricultural land or also the land in the cities?
Just land, bro.
Just
only
all the land.
Less than 10% of the land of the country is owned by black people.
Right.
So when you're talking about the ruling class, and there's many ways to try to do the wrongs of the past and trying to make them, trying to correct all of that. But that can't happen without someone giving up something.
Of course. More land doesn't just appear.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
So then you can't have people cramped up. We can't. You can't be against the idea of people being cramped up, but they're not willing to part with a bit of.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, they have to give something up.
You have to give something
if they want
change
to exist, and they're like, well, we don't want to give anything up.
I always say to some, like, I have friends who to a large extent be liberals or whatever the case is, and they play golf, and I say, okay, cool. Would you give up half of the golf course?
Make it 9 holes. Make the golf course 9 holes.
9 holes and build so that people can live here. Only people who work in this neighborhood can live here.
Yeah.
They always go, no. You know what I mean? Then if that's the case, then you're not willing to give up anything. You like things to continue the way they are.
Because the golf course is like leisure.
Yeah.
You're not even willing to give up part of your leisure. Not even all of your leisure. Part of your leisure. And they're still like, no.
Yes.
I wouldn't do that.
So human beings don't care, like I said earlier.
This has been a very inspiring message. It's like, if it doesn't directly affect you, you don't know about it. And on a basic level, humans don't care.
On a basic level, humans do not give a shit.
But what about your, because you have had a large amount of success in South Africa. Like, you had your own TV show. You've been nominated for some Emmys. You just bought a house. So you're doing all right?
I'm doing okay.
Doing all right? What's your friendship circle like?
What does that mean?
Are they generally like the people you kind of knew growing up, or are they people
I have a lot of my friends from
entertainment, or is there like...
There's a mixture of people.
Like those events that you have to wear tuxedos to? Like, you got those friends too now?
I got all kinds of friends. It's who I have a vibe with. I don't have a rule of no new friends. I don't... That's a...
Well, no, just like in terms of, is it, possible, like, is there like kind of like a strict divide between, there's like you said a lot of unemployment. Like, how many of your group of friends will be unemployed?
No, my friends are okay.
My friends are alright, they're doing fine?
Yeah, my friends are doing okay.
Yeah, but is that, in like the major cities, is there still that massive level of unemployment? Is it probably worse there?
Dude, there's like something like 30% unemployment.
30%. Australia is like in a crisis when it gets up to 6.
Oh, yeah.
People freak out. They're like, what are we going to do about this unemployment? 30. Wow. And that across all age groups?
Yeah, so then people don't register that as a thing that could explode into something crazy. They just go, no, I'm not giving up my farm. I'm not doing this. I'm not allowing these other people opportunity to... And you're like, dude, you're literally you standing in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your selfishness.
You're just being like, no. And that's stopping
this
many
then
people.
You have like these groups that are like screaming white genocide. And you're like, dude, just chill out. You know this is bullshit. What you're saying is utter, you know what I mean? And you're like, you're just stirring up a situation that is volatile, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's already a volatile situation.
So it doesn't need...
Well, what about in entertainment? What's the kind of racial split? Like,
there's more black comics now than
white comics, right? Because I've only ever seen one South African white comedian.
Who?
Dusty Rich?
Oh, yeah.
He's like the only one that I've ever seen.
Oh, there's a couple of guys, but there's more black young acts coming up doing cool shit.
Yeah, and is that reflected in TV as well? Does it translate across?
Yeah.
Because like, this is the thing, I can only look at race from a United States perspective, because like Australia just doesn't really have that. Like, Australia's mainly like gender. It's like, we need to get rid of the dudes and get some women in there, but most people are white. Right. So it's just, that's what it's like. But you look at the States, like, it's like, yeah, there was like all these black comics coming up, but they didn't get the same TV for like a long time. They kind of had to do their own thing. If you look at like Red Fox and like those guys.
Right.
And then I was just wondering, in South Africa, it's like, so it's, at least, like, because comedy's quite new, right? It's like, that's an exploding...
Yeah, but I mean, also you need to consider like a lot of stuff. Like the executives are still... It's not like a real... It's not like a... like there's a comedy... For me, the big problem, it's got none... It's because it's new, you still have people who are doing drama controlling what gets on TV, so they don't really know who's who and what, you know what I mean? Then you still have like old white people telling you, because they've been at the broadcaster since the 70s or whatever.
I think that's quite similar in Australia.
Yeah, so those are the people who are literally standing in the way of anything going forward, except accounts.
Except accounts.
Yeah, because you like...
Anyone will pay anyone.
Because you'll say like, do you know this act? And they're like, no, I know the act from the 70s. And you're like, motherfucker.
So is that like a real impediment? Like, because how many years, you had your TV show for 6 years?
Yeah.
And like, how, did you do other stuff before that? Like other smaller things?
Yeah.
And then, but was yours like the first, that was 2011? Was that like...
No, it wasn't the first.
The first, like, who was the first like black comic on TV in South Africa doing a Tonight Show?
No, there was a lot of, when I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of shows. There were a lot of guys who did that shit. So it wasn't me being on TV wasn't a big thing.
Right.
It was just the satire was a thing that was kind of new-ish.
because you were satirizing South African news. Like, it was current affairs, political.
Yeah, yeah.
Daily Show style.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I watched a clip of you interviewing a puppet.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, that was pretty cool. Never seen a puppet be interviewed before. I'm like, this is some groundbreaking shit.
Well, the puppet was probably the most popular thing about that show.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's sick. Does the puppet go on its own, or was it just for the show?
The puppet is touring Canada right now.
You serious?
Actually, New Zealand.
Well,
No,
look,
I'm being for real.
the puppet's touring New Zealand. Is he big outside South Africa or just in South Africa?
We just started touring.
Just started touring. Mate, the puppet's doing better than me. Does the puppet need an opener? Can I get my foot in the door there?
You picking up a very strange British thing.
What do you mean?
Of always like any opportunity to acknowledge how well you're not doing.
Yeah, but that's modesty. It's what we trade on.
It's bullshit.
You don't like it?
It's because it's like you say it so much, and I hang out with you. You say it so much that it's not an important thing. So when I'm doing well, and it's an extremely British thing. It's like because you put it in your mind.
Put it in whose mind? Your mind.
Your mind.
I put it in my own mind.
Yeah, so in your mind, subconsciously, there's always a thing going, I'm not doing well. Because every time the situation pops up, you fucking acknowledge it.
But I would say that's a much more Australian thing than a British thing.
Oh, I find, because I don't spend as much time in Australia and Britain, I pick it up a lot in Britain. And I just go, because I have a totally, it's not even the opposite. I have a totally different mindset. My mindset is, like, for instance, I was trying to get something. And then they were like, are you not going to find out how much it costs? And I said, it doesn't matter what it costs. If I want it, I want it. And it's got nothing to do with how much money I have. I used to do that shit in high school.
Right.
So I go, how much are these Jordans that I want? You see what I'm saying? Or if I want, so then it doesn't, my mind is clear about the thing. You know what I mean? So
yeah, you know what you want.
Yeah, so it's crazy because it's like
you're finding out the cost so you can pay it.
I only say it because people underestimate their powerful instrument in their mind, in their body,
right? Which
is the mind. So it sounds it's probably the corniest shit I will say to you.
I mean, I'm glad I'm recording it then.
But if you said something enough, you stop manifesting it. You really subconsciously start living towards like that kind of shit. And then I'm like, but you vocalize it all the time.
Yeah.
All the time, like all the fucking time. And I just go, and I almost want to go, your trajectory is fine. And I just want to go, everything is fine.
But I know. Like, I'm not concerned about it. This is what I mean, that I think it's more Australian. Like, there's no, Shane Warne is a cricketer, right?
Yes.
Probably the greatest cricketer, like greatest bowler ever.
Yes.
If he even suggested for a second that he was good at cricket, everyone in Australia would be like, fuck you. Even though he's probably currently number one. Like, this is like a running joke in Australian comedy, like, where you say something like, I caught the bus for 13 hours because the only way I could get there. And then at the end of that sentence, you say, not to brag. Right? Like, it's like something shit that you're doing and like you're suffering, and you say not to brag.
I don't dig it.
I mean, I find it interesting.
I really don't dig it. I really don't really like. I hate that. Like, I would hate to constantly either pretend like I'm not having a good, like it's like a weird thing. I just want to vocalize that I don't like it.
Well, no, it's funny because it is a false modesty, and I don't.
But it's not modesty.
But like that's what
it's fake modesty.
Yeah, false modesty. That's what I said. It's false. Like it's.
But then how? I'm trying to figure out how it manifests in your brain. Like, are you? I'm really psychoanalyzing you at this moment.
That's okay.
So what does it mean, though? What it
means is you don't think you're better than anyone else.
But what if you are miles better than a motherfucking
then you do it even more. That's the Australian approach. You would do it even more. Like, the better you are, the more down to earth you are. Like, that's the necessary thing. And it's funny that you think about it manifesting, because I think that is one thing that white people like are so ignorant about. Like, we don't, like, I've heard like so many like just black comedians or like black entertainers, like black athletes talk about the visualization and like the manifesting and like you want to be positive and you want to do that kind of thing. Whereas like white people are just, we don't talk about it. We don't like to engage with what we want. There is nothing more terrifying than being like, I want this. How do I get that? How much does it cost? If you want the Jordans, you just stand in front of them for a bit and be like, oh, I'll never afford those, and you walk out the store.
Yeah, that's not how I roll.
I mean, I know. And I like that.
And I'm just like, no, man.
But you think it's the same in Britain? Because I think in Australia it's far more so. Like,
when I'm in Australia, I don't hang out like as much. And when I'm there, I hang out with people who are not from there.
It's true.
So I never really
You come to my country to hang out with people who aren't from my country.
Indeed.
And then you leave.
Indeed.
I mean, that's probably, if you ask the indigenous population how they'd like people to enter and leave Australia, they'd be fucking bang on that.
Well, you see now, you're opening other cans of worms. I need to check. Oh, man, I need to.
What do you got? You got to roll? You got to start moving?
Probably. How long has this been?
We've almost hit the hour, but I thought it was just starting to heat up. I thought it was just starting to get good. Because this is what I want. I want, like, because this is the thing. I think South Africa. I mean, I haven't been there, so I can't speak from a point of knowledge. But it to me seems very different to Australia, UK, Canada, New Zealand. Like your kind of classic colonies. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's probably the last one in that main set, you know, that rugby, cricket, private school, jackets.
I hate all that shit.
Exactly. But South Africa's got both. Whereas like New Zealand and Australia, it's like, it's too small to have like a completely different bit. Like too small to kind of have its own little personality within like the different groups that occupy that country. And it's like homogenized, you know? Whereas like that's why I think South Africa is funny because your outlook to me is very foreign. Whereas like no one I've really met in the UK am I like, well, that's weird. Where did that come from? You know?
Right.
There's a much more inherent understanding.
Yes. Fuck.
And clearly it bothers you because like you pick up on like that one thing that you're just like, oh, it fucking drives me crazy that you guys say this like it's going bad. It's like it's fun. Like why are you bringing it up?
Yeah. It really drives. You know.
I think it's because we don't have anything to complain about, so we invent stuff and self-deprecate.
Don't dig it.
What would your ideal solution be? Just everybody
shut the fuck up. Like I'd rather you shut the fuck up.
Like, you prefer silence.
Yeah, because now you're like, you know, it's also like yeah, I don't know. It's like it also like kind of makes it also makes another person feel weird.
Makes you feel weird.
No, like I mean, this is not you, but I'm saying like, you know, when someone goes, "Oh, I'm
yeah."
Then you're like, "Yeah, I don't want to. I'm really not gonna apologize for playing the fucking Apollo. I'm not." But it's in my mind, I'm going. I feel bad. You know what I mean? It's like, what do they call it? They call it survivor's guilt.
Survivor's guilt. I've survived. You're still sick.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So it's like a survivor's guilt thing, and I go, fuck, I don't want to feel bad for...
So you don't want to feel bad for your success?
Yes.
So that's what that brings out when I say that to you?
Partly.
See, I figured it'd just mainly be boring. Like, because I still find it boring. Don't get the wrong idea. I do it, and I probably do it more than I realize, because it's just one of those things that's drilled in.
Yeah.
But like... Yeah, like for me, it's like it's more boring. And the other thing is when people are like fishing for like that you're gonna be fine. You know, like I feel like saying you'll be fine, everything's okay. But like I find people fish for that as well. They want you to tell them everything's going to be okay. Whereas in my head, I definitely don't. Like,
I strongly believe that shit will always be fine.
Strongly believe.
All the time.
What? Why is that? Where was it always since you were like a kid?
No, recently.
Recently.
Because I figured out that life is not about happiness.
You figured out that life is not about happiness.
No. Life is about experiencing whatever the fuck is in front of you.
Right. So just being present
in whatever's happening.
Even if that's unhappiness, even if that's a pit of despair.
Well, I mean, unhappiness is a feeling like any other feeling.
Agreed.
So there is no feeling that occupies even 50% of your life.
Right.
So you can't be jealous for like, it's just an array of emotions all the time.
Sure.
So happiness is a very small part of that.
Yeah, but what if your unhappiness is like disproportionately huge compared to all your others and compared to other people?
Then you totally have a wrong approach to life.
You think you can change it by your mindset, where you're like, I'm just feeling this now and then we'll deal with the next thing?
No, it's got nothing to do with you.
Right.
So you just have to go, this is what's happening in my life right now. I am obviously trying to change it, but it's just fucking life.
Right.
And if there's no other way, someone told me this story, and it's like a tale.
A parable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I share?
I would love you to share your parable.
So it's dude has horses, so he lives in like a little village, and he has a horse.
The idea of the first sentence in a parable being like, so dude has horses.
The dude has horses.
Yeah.
And he has one horse.
Mm-hmm.
And the horse, like he's like is the poorest guy around,
Yeah, it's just the guy with a horse.
Yeah, and then everyone's like, and then this horse just runs off. I was like, shit, your last horse. What are you gonna do now, man? It's your last horse. And he just goes, yeah, it's life. Be like that sometimes. And the horse comes back a couple of months later with many other horses. And I was like, oh shit, that's lucky of you for these horses to come back. And he goes, yeah, it's life. Be like that sometimes. And so he has his kids start liking the horses, and one of his kids is riding a horse one day, falls off the horse. Other horses like kind of stumble on him, and he's paralyzed.
Wow.
And people are like, shit, that's unfortunate. That's very unlucky. And he goes, yeah, it's life. It be like that sometimes. And the dude, so at some point there's a war, and all the boys have to go to war. And then they go, well, your son can't go to war because he's paralyzed. And all the other parents are like, shit, you're so lucky because your kids might not get killed. Then he goes, it's life. It be like that sometimes. You know what I mean? So you can't control what's going to happen, but your approach and how you view what's happening is the big thing, is the default setting into how you approach the thing. Because you're not going to always be happy. It is literally impossible.
To always be happy. So you may
so you do things so that's how they trick you into buying shit and doing dumb things that allow you to, that make you part way with money. They're not selling you the idea of the great design of the shoes. They're selling these things bring a certain deal of happiness. If you get the prettier the thing, it's you know what I mean.
The more happiness.
It's happy, and then you're like, no, it's not gonna bring you happiness. You have to be like so content with how the world works and how the world flows that when you're buying a sneaker, you're feeling, I like the genuine design of this thing, and I must detach happiness out of it.
So you're like, I'm just buying this shoe.
Yeah, I'm just buying the shoe because I like the shoe.
This shoe.
I like the design of the shoe.
It's not going to bring me any happiness. I'm not going to look at it and be like, oh my God, I could buy a shoe.
Yeah, but I know, but you could feel that way, but it's not like, your day is not reliant on these pair of shoes or your life or your interactions and how you treat people and how you are. It's not dependent on this shit.
Right. I mean, that's an interesting position for someone like you who has so many shoes.
Yeah, well, it's because I didn't. It's because we were when I was young. I couldn't afford the shoes, and all the shoes that I wanted to buy as a kid, Now I can afford them, so it's full blown projecting.
Full blown projecting. You're just like, I'm gonna buy all the fucking shoes
that I couldn't get as a kid.
Yeah.
But I'm fully aware that it doesn't. I'm fully aware of the fact that's just filling a void.
Right. That's a immense level of self-awareness.
Yeah. That's what stand-up comedy is.
Just an immense level of self-awareness?
Yeah.
I mean, you're wearing those shoes. Actually, sorry, just side note. I really suck at buying shoes.
I'm actually going to go buy those shoes.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna join you. I want Loyiso's shoes, but I don't want to wear the same shoes as another man. That's how much I overthink it. I'm like, I don't want to have the same shoes as my mate.
You weird.
How is that weird? I think that's normal.
I would have bought those shoes. You see, I would have bought those shoes in a blink.
In the blink of an eye?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because you like buying shoes.
Not entirely like buying shoes.
I like being picky. That's a different vibe. I think it's an interesting parable. I hope
all this shit makes sense.
I mean, I think so. I think anyone listening to this will have a much better idea of you than before, even if they knew who you were. And they may well know who you are. You're a successful man. I
do okay.
You're big in South Africa. I still need to go.
I'm big in Japan.
Well, I'm huge in Japan. I got a T-shirt. I still like. I mean, it's an oversimplification, but I think South Africa must be an interesting place, just in like the way it seems to have so many more layers of what's happening than a place like Australia.
Yeah.
Which I think isn't difficult because there's not a lot happening in Australia. It really isn't. That's why we can't have a nightly news program like you guys. We've tried it so many times, and there's just literally not enough news. Even if we talk about everything else.
Mine was weekly, though.
Oh, yours is weekly? Well, look, we've tried that too, and it hasn't gone great.
You have the weekly. I'm on the weekly.
You're on the weekly?
In Australia.
Is that the Charlie Pickering one?
Yeah.
What did you do on that? Did you just chat? Were you panel?
Correspondent. Sometimes I come in as a panel person.
Really? Mm-hmm. I don't even know. I don't know anyone who watches that show.
Yeah.
Tonightly just got cancelled. You did Tonightly as well.
Oh, really?
You? Yeah, it just got cancelled last week.
I like that show.
I thought it should have stuck around.
Yeah, it was quite a dark show, though. Like some of the jokes, it was like, holy shit, you can say that on TV?
It was funny, actually. I heard a lot of the criticism of it was there was too much swearing.
Really?
Yeah, that was the thing. They were like, they swear a lot on that, don't they? Because on Australian TV, you can swear. It's not like US TV. And I think in the UK, you can kind of... I don't know. I think more than the US, but less than Australia. In Australia, you can pretty much say whatever you want on TV. Whatever you fucking want. How many channels in South Africa?
We've got everything everyone has.
No, but it's in like local channels. Like as in... Because Australia's got 5?
Yeah.
Or 7? Or something like
that? Dude, you can stream what... It's like you can... You know what I mean? It's like...
No, but like just
TV.
But like...
Government channel.
Yeah, like locally produced TV. Like as in...
There's tons of locally produced stuff.
Well, that's the thing, because I just think Australia's very small. Because what's the population in South Africa?
50 million.
50 million. Double. I think it's double us.
Double Australia.
Double Australia.
Well, there you go.
Well, that's the thing. No, I'm just... I think it's interesting. I think Australia suffers from being small, whereas it seems like South Africa could probably do with being a little bit smaller. There still needs to be some stuff to fit everybody in.
Yeah, we need minus 10 million people.
So bring it down to 40 and then everyone's happy.
35.
35? Who would you get rid of? Let's close on that.
I don't want to get rid of...
You got to pick a bit of South Africa.
I don't want to get rid of anyone. I'm just saying maybe 35 will be a manageable situation.
We could do that. All right, well...
Shit, I don't want to miss my...
No. We're wrapping this up. I'm going to make you juice. I promise I'd make you juice.
It's 2 o'clock now. If I can get back to the thing at 2:30, get my things and get the fuck out of here.
You can make it. You can make it back. Is there anywhere where people can find you?
Find me?
Yeah, the social media stuff. Anything you want people to watch? You got something coming out from Just for Laughs?
Yeah, I've got... Yeah, Netflix. You find me on Netflix and shit.
He's doing a half-hour special on Netflix.
And then I'll do like... I'll do Live at the Apollo, and then I'll do... Shit, I didn't sleep well last night.
That's okay. Look, I'm going to put all your social media stuff on. People will find you. And
They'll
I'm going
find
to
me
put
on
that map
social
of South Africa.
Is this going to be on iTunes?
Yeah, it'll be everywhere. It'll
That's
go.
the only place I listen to podcasts.
Well, look, I better put it there then, so you can check up on it. Loyiso Gola, thank you for joining me in my refugee camp kitchen.
Thank you for having me in your refugee camp kitchen. You see, when they start sending texts, are you still coming to pick up your shit?
All right, so that was my chat with Loyiso. Always a cool guy to chat to. He's got a lot of perspective. He's got a lot of, I don't know. Whenever we hang out, he's always got a new saying for me. Where it's like, today, obviously I figured out life isn't about happiness. That was the takeaway. But other times, what is it? It's been like, check your bias. Is like, and the other one is, I don't have an inferiority complex. But no, I always like that he's kind of got a little bit of wisdom in that regard, Like he's thinking about stuff a lot. And obviously schooled me on being too British. That cuts to the bone. Too British, doing that British false modesty thing, that like self-deprecation for no reason. I maintain that is an Australian thing. That is like the most Australian thing. Like you cannot ever admit anything's going well or have any confidence in yourself. That for me is like the most necessary thing. It's like when Australia gets a prime minister, the first thing that happens, you haven't only ever seen that guy in a suit before. And then as soon as he becomes prime minister or she becomes prime minister, they like chuck just kind of street clothes on him. The current guy is wearing like surf hats. The guy before him was wearing leather jackets. Just like walking around like with these cool leather jackets being like, nah, man, I don't think I'm better than you. I'm just one of the dudes. Except the majority of your country chose for me to tell them what to do. But I'm just like you, That's how we work. I don't know why. I don't know why we need to do that. But that's just an Australian thing. And Loyiso hates it. I dig that. I like that he's just like, nah, man, just don't. Like, why are you involving me in this country? Just enjoy where things are at. It's a good point, man. Maybe I can try and do that. Maybe we can pick up on this on the pod in the future. I'll see you guys can call me on it if I'm doing that lame. Just like, no, everything's going badly. I'm just a bloke. Please like me. That shit. I don't know. We'll see. I'll try and be more okay with how things are going and back myself a little bit, just as an experiment to see if we can do it. And obviously, it was good that we kind of took the time. I know it's a bit of a long episode, but I think it's nice to take the time to not oversimplify the things he was talking about in South Africa. Like, obviously, I'm super ignorant when it comes to Africa. As I said, I don't really have a concept of it. But he's right. Oversimplifying it doesn't help anybody. And then that view of just like, you talk about the violence, like it's a very one-dimensional approach. Like, it's good that he kind of checks me on that as well. So, you got a better understanding, I think. Because, like, it's real easy to skim the headlines, like the kind of trash headlines, and think that's what the country is all about. But the day-to-day, it's nothing like that at all. So, yeah, man, it was nice. It was nice to chat to him. He's back there now, doing a whole bunch of shows. I don't know whether he's coming back out to Australia this year. But if you like him, please do grab him on Twitter and Instagram. He's at Loyiso Gola, just as it's spelled in the description, but Loyisogola. As he said, he's got that Netflix special coming out. So when it comes out, watch it, because everybody knows that Netflix loves analytics. So the more people who watch it and watch it the whole way through, the better for Loyiso, who is fucking funny. So I'm always down to get people to watch funny things. Beyond that, if you want to get in touch with me, at Dan Muggleton, we've had a couple of people get in touch with me on Twitter there, at Dan Muggleton. Same on Instagram, at Dan Muggleton. And obviously on the Facebook, it's the Union Jackoff, if you want to like the page. And if you want to subscribe, that's great too, man, because then these episodes come to you straight away when they come out. You don't have to listen to them, But they'll be right there on your phone, on your computer, wherever you listen to podcasts. They'll be ready to go. So give that a subscribe. Give it a rating if you like on iTunes. We're on Spotify as well. But yeah, that was it. That was my chat with Loyiso. I am about to go pack. He packed. He made his flight. If you're worried about him running late, I made him juice. He loved it, and he made his flight. And now I got to make mine. I got the plane tomorrow. Then I'm back in Australia for a bit, and it's going to be an Australian heavy month on the podcast. I've got 4 episodes in the bank, ready to go, chatting to Australian people about living in the UK, chatting to people in Australia about having lived in the UK. I think you guys are going to dig it. Anyway, thanks for getting involved yet again. Get in touch if you like. If you come with a better name than Jerkoffs, please tell me. I'll catch you later. Bye.